There's something General Hospital fans always do when a car crash storyline happens. We immediately look at the driver. Was Britt distracted? Was Rocco panicking? Did somebody lose control? But if you ask me, that's exactly why Cullum is winning right now. Because the most dangerous villains in Port Charles are never the ones holding the gun. They're the ones designing the scene before anybody even realizes they walked into a trap. And that's why this crash could become one of the darkest storylines GH has done in years. Not because a car went off the road, because somebody planned every second of fear inside that car before the impact even happened. Guys, the moment Britt decided to run with Rocco, the story stopped being about escape. It became a hunt, and I think most viewers are still underestimating just how personal this is for Cullum. See, everybody around Port Charles thinks Cullum wants revenge. That's the easy explanation. The surface explanation. But the deeper layer, he wants control. Total control over information, over fear, over who gets to survive long enough to tell the truth. That changes everything. Because suddenly the crash doesn't feel random anymore. It feels surgical. And once you see it that way, some terrifying details start lining up. Let's talk about Britt first. A lot of fans keep asking the same question. Why would Britt even risk running away with Rocco when she already knows her condition is getting worse? Simple. Because Britt knows something bigger is coming. I think Britt figured out Cullum's connection to the entire cover-up long before anyone else did. Not all of it, but enough to realize that Rocco was no longer safe in Port Charles. And honestly, you could see the shift happening already. Britt stopped acting like somebody protecting herself. She started acting like somebody protecting a child from something she couldn't fully explain yet. That's a huge difference. There's one scene I keep replaying in my head. Britt looking exhausted, barely holding herself together, but still forcing herself to stay calm for Rocco. That kind of writing matters. GH was planting emotional groundwork before the crash even happened. Because when the accident comes, it's not just physical danger. It's emotional devastation. Now, here's where the storyline gets really smart. Most soap villains create chaos loudly. Cullum doesn't. He creates isolation. Think about it. He waits until Britt and Rocco are alone. No backup. No witnesses. No Sonny. No Jason. No Dante. Just rain, darkness, and a highway that suddenly feels endless. That's horror movie territory wrapped inside daytime drama. And honestly, I love that GH is leaning into psychological tension again instead of just explosions and shouting matches every 5 minutes. Because fear gets heavier when it's quiet. Picture this. Britt is driving through heavy rain. Her hands are shaking slightly on the wheel. Rocco keeps looking behind them because he knows they're being followed even before he says it out loud. The windshield wipers are moving fast enough to sound like a countdown clock. Then headlights appear. Not close. Far enough away to feel intentional. That detail matters. Cullum doesn't immediately attack because he wants Britt terrified first. He wants her exhausted mentally before the impact even happens. He's hunting her patience, her focus, her confidence. And if you ask me, that's the scariest part of the entire thing. Anybody can pull a trigger. But psychologically breaking somebody down minute by minute, that's another level. Now let me ask you something. Why keep Rocco alive? Seriously. If Cullum wanted to erase loose ends, killing both of them would have been easier, cleaner, faster. So why drag Rocco out of the wreck first? Because Rocco is leverage. And I think that changes the future of this storyline completely. A dead witness is useful for one episode. A traumatized witness? That's long-term damage. That's where GH could take this into truly dangerous emotional territory. Imagine Rocco surviving the crash but becoming terrified to speak. Imagine him remembering fragments of Cullum's voice but not enough to convince anybody. Imagine Dante trying to protect his son while slowly realizing the trauma is bigger than physical injuries. That's the kind of storyline that sticks. Not because it's flashy, because it hurts. And here's the twist I don't think enough people are talking about. What if the crash wasn't even Cullum's final objective? What if Britt was... Think about the timing. Think about what Britt potentially knows. She has access to information other people don't. Medical records, private conversations, suspicious timelines. GH loves using hospital systems as secret pipelines for hidden truths. So what happens if Britt connected dots nobody else noticed? Suddenly she becomes the real target, not Rocco. Rocco may have simply been the bait that forced Britt into a vulnerable situation. That possibility completely changes the emotional meaning of the crash scene. Because now Britt isn't just a victim. She's somebody who knowingly sacrificed her own safety to keep Rocco alive. And honestly, that would fit her character perfectly. Britt has always carried this tragic energy where she expects pain but still chooses to protect people anyway. That's why fans connect with her. She's messy, defensive, sharp-tongued. But underneath all that, she loves harder than she admits. That's why the image of her trapped inside that destroyed car feels so powerful. Not weak, heroic. And let's talk about the aftermath, because this is where GH can either elevate the storyline into something unforgettable or waste it completely. The hospital scenes need emotional fallout. Real fallout. I don't want everybody magically recovering emotionally after 2 episodes. That would kill the tension instantly. I want Dante spiraling because he failed to protect his son. I want Lulu blaming herself for helping them escape. I want Sonny realizing this enemy operates differently from the mob threats he understands. And Jason? Guys, Jason investigating the crash could become the coldest part of the entire arc. Because Jason doesn't just look for evidence. He looks for patterns. Imagine him quietly staring at scrape marks on the wreckage. Finding traces of black paint from Cullum's SUV. Realizing the collision angle proves Britt never lost control naturally. That's the moment the story transforms from accident to attempted execution. And once that truth gets out, Port Charles explodes. But there's still one detail haunting me more than anything else. Britt waking up briefly in the ICU. Not long enough to explain everything. Just enough to say one word. Cullum. That's pure GH drama right there. Short, brutal, devastating. Because now the clock starts ticking immediately. If Britt survives, Cullum is exposed. If she dies, the truth dies with her. And suddenly, every scene afterward carries pressure. Every hallway conversation matters. Every visitor matters. Every security breach matters. You can build weeks of suspense from that alone. Now, here's my bigger theory. I don't think Cullum works alone. There. I said it. The precision of this crash feels coordinated. Too clean. Too prepared. Somebody may have helped track Britt's route. Somebody inside Port Charles may have leaked information without realizing how dangerous Cullum truly is. And if GH goes there, this storyline becomes explosive. Because betrayal inside the inner circle always hits harder than outside threats. Always. Especially when viewers start questioning everybody. Who knew Britt's route? Who had access to the car? Who stalled Dante long enough for Cullum to intercept them? That paranoia could spread through the entire canvas. And honestly, GH needs that right now. Stories become addictive when viewers stop feeling safe around familiar faces. That's the magic ingredient. Not just danger. Distrust. By the end of this storyline, I think Rocco will never see Port Charles the same way again. And maybe that's the real tragedy here. Not the wreck itself, not even Britt's injuries. It's the loss of innocence. Because once a kid realizes adults can't protect him from monsters hiding in plain sight, something changes permanently. And if you ask me, that's the emotional core GH should lean into all summer long. Not just who caused the crash, but what survives after it.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.